Yes, old Billy Kite. I would like to tell a little humorous one. Good morning now.
Hello, how are you?
I'm always well, thank you.
Yeah, well, we're listening.
Just taking bloody time for a light this. When that Jeffries was here, he had a little hut next door to the church, on the side of the church. And I bought it. Now that was only round timber and hashing petitions, pretty rough in the fireplace. So I said to Ronnie Tarrant, pull the iron off and we'll set her light. So we did. First up she wouldn't go, and then she took an old Billy Kite's wheel on the bike. Full. My jolly word, he said. Was there anyone in there? Ta-da, dear. Was there anyone in there? By jolly word, they'd be scorched up a bit now. He's as full as a bull. After the fire's over, Ronnie Tarrant goes down the street. I think this, to me, is humorous. But you remember Jeffries. And Ronnie goes down the street. House is burnt. Iron's been taken away. And he goes out to the pub. He said, you wouldn't read about that bloody old Hodgie. He said, you know why he bought that building, don't you? He said, he got a pile of opal there in that old fireplace under the stones. A fortnight after, I get a letter from Jimbo Jeffries, asked me how much opal, and asked me not to dispose of it, belonged to him. Would you read about it? This stupid bucket goes down and tells him in the pub I had to jump and tell him to talk about it too. Oh, no, Billy, it may not sound much, but to me, it is history in my book. And he said, no, I used to go to Sydney, and I came back one time. The old dentist chair's up at this character up there. I gave it to him. But I brought my old dentist chair back, and all I had made in the second-hand business, and, you know, all dentist gear, the glass and the probes and the forceps and everything. And I just come home and I put them on that table there. The chair's there, and old Billy comes in. Face up like that. Debbie can swear to this. And he looks across and he said, oh, are you a dentist too? I said, of course I am, Billy. Why, what's wrong? Oh, look. My face up. Oh, I said, nothing. Come in. He looks at all the forceps and everything lying there. I said, sit in the chair, Billy. Debbie, sterilise a couple of pairs of these forceps and the probe. She does that. I said, you got any Dettol? Yes. I said, bring the Dettol out, some cotton wool. Now, Billy, you better have a whiskey before I start pound. That's a jolly good idea. So I give him a whiskey. Down that. Now I said, open up. She brought the gear out, see, and the cotton wool. And I said, open up. So he opened some mouths, and I said, oh yes, I put the Dettol around it, you know, the cotton wool, and you know, it stings a little bit. He said, oh, wait a minute. He said, do you know, Harold, I think we better have another jolly whiskey. I said, well, it might help you. This might be hard. So I give him another whiskey, and I get the forceps. I opened his mouth wide, and I just go to put the forceps in. No, wait a minute, he said, wait a minute. He said, I think the pain is gone. I put the thing down, and he said, I don't think I'll let you pull it. The swelling went down, you can blame me. He never had that bloody tooth out ever. The shock he got, seeing the forceps and Billy, the as far as I know, till he died, he still had it.
Mind over matter.
Right. Well, that was one of the funniest things with
He was
old
a
Mick.
character,
Oh,
wasn't
he was a mighty cove. I never heard him swear.
Yeah.
And he's a man, as you might know, they said that you couldn't have decorations unless you held rank. Billy had an MM, an MC, and what was the other? I know it, and I've seen them all. Shirley has them, as far as I know. And it was when Woodward came here and we formed a guard of honour at the hall there. And I said to old Billy, you're on a fiver. If you don't have a drink until the guard of honour, until he walks in that hall, I said, I'll give you a fiver if you don't have a drink. And when he walking around talking, and he saw old Billy with the decorations and all the rest of it, chatted to him, and went in the hall. We were dismissed, supposed to go in the hall, and Billy said to me, jolly word, give us that fiver. He went and dived straight for the pub, he did. He went in around all, Woodward got in the hall. But he was a decorated man, and he was paid a compliment. Cohen, the barrister in Sydney, when I rang him up, I used to think he was bullshitting to me, but he was a runner for him, and he said, my old colonel. I rang Cohen. We got him ready to go down to the Anzac March. Cohen sent his car in, his daughter, and old Billy fell out of the train at Narrabri, never ever got there. They rang me up and said he'd never arrived, so no, he left here. So
he was a character.
Yeah.
He was a character. Well, some more characters. Some of the Germans. There was Mick Bow, for instance. Did you have any association with Mick and George?
Plenty.
Bow? Okay, Mick Bow first.
Mick Bow is one of the strongest men that I ever came in contact with. And he used to pinch you. And by the Lord, when he pinched you, he'd bruise you. And when I used to flinch, that's how he come to call me chicken. Yeah, I was a chicken. He said, you're only a chicken. Mick Bow had paid me the compliment of the 2 pictures that he had in his hut. And when he passed on, those 2 pictures were to be brought to me.
Did you get them?
I did. And old Mick Bow was a mighty worker and a man with it. I couldn't tell you how much old Mick got or anything else. I don't think I ever bought a stone from old Mick. I might have bought some from Waller, I don't know, but I don't think I ever bought. I bought from old George Lowe, who was another natured gentleman. And I think one of you said speaking to Germans, I think you've forgotten old Harry Sack.
Oh yes, all those to come. I just named 2 to start with. That's
Yes, well, they're all interwoven with me because Harry Sack was out at the 9 Mile at the outbreak of war, see, and they wouldn't let him leave there. Well, then when he could leave there, he went to the Groven, and I used to beg him to come back here and live here. Never, he said, to Lightning Rick.
Did he tell you the reason why?
Well, I just told you. More or less a concentration. Yeah. And that hurt him terrifically.
There were other Germans. Were they here when you came here?
Oh, German Harry was out at the Groven.
What about the Yorkies? Had they gone or died?
Well, no, I don't know Yorkies. No. I don't know whether you call them. They weren't Germans, but the old timers were the Grahams and
Right, well,
old Bishop.
We'll start with the Graham brothers, seeing they lived near you.
God damn. They were like a pair of bloody old women, or a married couple. They'd abused one another.
Where'd they come from to Lightning Ridge, do you know?
Well, if there's any... I just can't say how to put this, but if there's one story the George ever got near to the truth, I'd like to hear it. He was with tin and then something else, anatomy, or what do you call that other?
All sorts of minerals, yeah.
Oh, yes. But I think the best story he ever told me, do you want to hear a story he told me, was when they did the big fencing contract in Queensland. He said, we finished it. Had men working. Finished the contract, went into the little township. Railway line there, he said, no beer. No meat. Coming in on the train. He said, we were all willing helpers. It's midsummer. He said, they come in a truck with a tarpaulin over it, all bottled beer. He said, when we took the tarpaulin off, been on the road, he said, on travelling with the tarpaulin over it, midsummer. He said, there's about 3 ton onions stacked on top of the beer. He said, they were stinking. He said, we hoisted them and got to the beer. And he said, she was boiling, but we tried her. He said, no meat, mind, no meat. But he said, there was an old milking cow. So he said, some of them killed her. And he said, we had a steak. And he said, we had this beer. And it was onion beer, he said. The smell of the onions had gone through the bottle, and we was having that steak off that old cow, he said, an onion beer. And I said, George. He said, I'll tell you, I can swear that's the truth. So I'm telling you, if you ever asked me where they came, originally came from New Zealand, from a good family, a really good family too. Their brother was up here. And I've communicated with their sister who has passed on. They came from a good family, and they never had their wish. George reckoned before he died, he wanted to, oh yes he did, yes, he said, I want to see that, what was his name, Gosh, is it Gosh? And took over their claims.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's Gosh. He said, I want to see him 6 foot under before I go, and I can't remember whether he did or whether he didn't know.
Did he ever tell you about their claim on Newtown in the 30s? Up where Paddy, area where Paddy got the
Oh, yes, he's told me of plenty, and down to 3 Mile. And then the last story they told me, and I fell for it, I bought the bloody piece of ground from just over here at the back of the trams.
Yeah.
They came to me with a stone. My God, what's a nice little stone. I said, where did this come from? So I'm trying to think, and I said, that's Newtown apple. That's what it looked like to me. He said, no. How much do you want for it? Oh, I said, 2 dear. I said, tell you what I'll do with you. I might buy you a stone if you tell me where it came from. And I said, because your stone's too dear, but I'll buy the claim, along with the stone. He said, just behind where you got the trams there. I said, right. He said, well, now what about the stone? I said, wait till I go over and have a bloody look at this. I went over and had a look. And I said, there's been no one working here. I said, for 3 or 4 months. Oh, he said, you're only looking at the first level. So it was about 4 feet. I said, well, where did you get it? He said, on the 2nd level. I said, well, how could you get it on the 2nd level? Well, I said, this is bottom at 4 feet. Ah, he said, that's where we got you tricked. We got another hole. And we come in the 2nd level. I said, show me the other hole. He said, do you know someone's filled it in? I said, well, I'm not giving you the price for the opal. I got close to it. He said, but you can have the claim. You can have the claim. So I had the claim, and Hines and I worked. Got nothing, naturally. I often wonder where that stone came from. Well, it was a colossal little stone.
Up in Newtown, probably. The truth known. Expect it.
I would say, I picked it one as Newtown, but he said, no, that's where he got it. So you've got to breathe them when they tell you.
They were 2 characters.
Yeah.
My brother Ted worked with them over on the corner over there. They got some nice opal, but they were characters.
God bless him.
Yes, well, there's a lot of people here, but I think we might go on to another controversial character, and he was very controversial. That was Larry Reynolds. Larry, why'd you drop the pen for? Did I shock you?
No. But I would not like this to go on to tape what I would want to say.
Well, there's no libel from any aspect. Larry's passed on.
No.
There's no libel, but the point
Who
is...
told you Larry passed on? Last I heard of him, he was still at Toowoomba robbing bloody old pensioners.
Yeah? Well, you said enough now, so you might as well tell us the rest. Look,
Yeah. I bought Larry's camp for him when he left, when they put the wind up him.
Well, before we get to that stage, what about some of the early escapades of his here at Lightning Ridge when you first come here? How'd you first come across him? Where'd you first meet him?
Out on the 3 Mile. I didn't know him, but it didn't take me long to sum him up as a con man.
He was an opal buyer.
Yes. And so he asked me to drive him out the 9 miles to old Billy Kite when he's getting the opal. Maud Madeline had beat him to it. And I said I would like to buy some opal. And he said, old Billy said, I'll just go up there to someone's camp and he's got some. And old Larry said, I'm the opal buyer, I'll go up. So Billy and I stopped there and I was inside with Billy. There was an old log outside there. And Billy and I were talking not opal at all, we were talking about tomorrow. And Larry came back and he's sitting on that log and I can see him through the crack in the door and he's got the opal tin and it's 3 stones. And then he called me out, he said, there's opal if you want it, how much? Well, nothing, I think, 5 or 6 quid or something. I said, you put the 3 stones back that you put in your pocket. And I said, I'll give you that for it. He said, you don't want opal at all. I said, I'll tell you what, you mightn't get much more either. So that was my first association with Larry Reynolds. And I did not wish to do business with him. He was a con man, and I'm coming to, he used to make those long things on a stick and put them in water on black velvet. And I said I'd like to, he'd never sell me one, because I wanted to break it and see what was what. After he got the fright, I bought his camp. I got all his secrets, some of it's still out there. Green bottles, blue bottles, you know, those caramels paper that used to be wrapped. That would go in between them. Yeah, the whole lot. He left in a hurry, and that there was the whole secret of his dudding.
Did you ever hear the story why he left in a hurry? Around town, did you hear the story?
Well, as I told you earlier, I don't take much notice, but I know that he'd been threatened not once, but many times. Other than that, I don't know. You tell me.
Well,
maybe I can correct you.
No, we're not after that actually, Harold. Eventually somebody's going to interview me on this tape too, and we'll all give our opinions. What we're trying to do is get a cross-section of the different characters from different people, see? That's all, our different thoughts.
Well, my thoughts going on tape, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's one of the greatest con men, and in my book, the lowest type of man, but it's ever been my, well, I'll say, misfortune to meet.
I'm sure you'd have plenty of backers on that point.
I don't need backers. When I make a statement, I have something that I can substantiate with, or otherwise I don't make a statement. And that's pretty hard words to say about a man.
The other opal buyer was here in those days. I'm not sure whether Mrs. Lenz, whether she started buying before you or after you, but you'd be able to answer that story.
Well, she was getting a lot of opal. She was selling, The other Opal buyer was here with Jack Francis. That was field, and then she started to buy. Oh, I guess she made a lot of money. She had her own ways. We all have our own different ideas in life. But she was back recently.
Was there any little personalities about her you'd like to tell us?
Well, I was never that familiar with her. Only one, the closest I ever got to her was when she hit me with the bloody handbag, and the bloody gat flew out. Just the closest I ever got.
Am I permitted to ask why?
Because I told her she was an old bitch. A rubbing old bitch. And that was over the bowling club. But she was in the other day and rushed in and kissed me, so what? Time heals most things, I think.
Sure. Oh, sure. There was an American buyer here in those days too, Jimmy Collins.
Oh, Jimmy didn't come till a long time after us. Jack Francis.
Yeah, well,
Jack Francis was the buyer.
what do you know about Jack, Harold?
Jack was a mighty man. He battled. They were kids, he and Bill. He had battled. Barefooted. Her father was the buyer and gambler. And so they went from there, and you've got to hand it to them. They made a quid, and they were keen businessmen. I don't think they had much education, but they had brain. I knew both Bill and Jack. And Jack and I, we clashed a couple of times. There's only a fortnight difference in our ages, I think. But we became very good friends. And we go back to our hire of stone. When he found out what I gave for it, he said, I can beat him. And he bought another stone he had, but I can tell you it wasn't within half the value of the first one. And I think it was still in his collection after he died. Sold for a song, but Jack. Then Jimmy Collins came. Oh, Lord, Jimmy came. When did Jimmy come? Which was long after I...
Jim was here when I come here to live in August 62.
Jim was here in 62. Lenny, you could be right, but
He was buying that opal that they were getting from the cook. Remember that patch they got at the cook and the boys?
I know it. I saw it before he did.
Yeah.
Those Straussic. I let them stay over there, and he took them out there, and they brought in a milk tin for. And I said, how much? And I think they said, well, Liz will tell you, 700, I think. I said, don't be silly. I said, you boys had done it hard. I'd take them back to Sydney and would take them to Parks, and then been on the train, got more money, came back. I said, there could be 3 or 4 stones not worth that. You go and get it cut and bring it back to me, and then we'll go from there, because you deserve whatever it's worth. You boys deserve it. And I never saw him again. There was a milk tin, I would like to say. So they had it cut, and Collins got it.
Georgie Bowles done a lot of the cutting in the end for them.
Yes.
And of course Georgie and Jimmy Collins are very closely associated somehow.
They were. They were. I was too at one stage. Until I left money from Dubai up in my absence. And when I came back and bought 3 stones. Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
They've done the
If
right...
I just mention this, I wasn't long here, this is long before Jimmy Collins. Very nice. They forgot I'd been without a work for 3 weeks. I'd seen all your opal from Cooper, Petey and the Mooka, up in Queensland. Growing here. I said, how much that cost? He said, all the money you left. Very good. Took it. Came back over here. I guess they were having a nice little chuckle. So, next day, when I was going away 2 days after, he said, you want me to buy any more apple? I said, no, thanks. I said, I can get plenty of that South Australian apple in Sydney. Nice and quietly. No argument or anything, that's all. That was finished. No, Jack Francis was a good buyer. And I think I can say I opened the first souvenir shop here.
Yes, it was here when I come here in '61 as a tourist, and I was very impressed with it.
It's been closed for years now, but got to open it up.
Very impressed with it. There was other buyers in this last 20-odd years.
Oh, yes.
We might run through a few of them. Freddie Giles started in July 1963. I know that because I started the same month.
Freddie Giles, but old Frank Brown used to come.
Oh, before him, yes.
Before him.
Yeah.
The Bruggs used to come. Regan used to come. Or the Bruggs, Regan, Frank Brown.
They were just the end of an era, weren't they?
Yes. But no. Old Bull Roberts used to come here before I came here. Because we used to have great old chats. I don't know whether you ever met old Bull Roberts of Fairfax and Roberts down in... Well, the whole staff used to put down tills when I'd walk in. And they'd send my name in. Saturday Ben! And they used to bellow, and I used to bellow at him. And they all used to... I reckon it was good to go to the bloody pictures. Bull Roberts. I have a fat. I used to come up here and
Was
buy.
he easy to do business with?
No. He was a haggler the same, and the real old type, the real old haggler, you know. He knowing in his heart that it was worth the money. But that's the joy of dabbling and dealing with those old timers. So it's lovely to haggle. Yeah. The little Bruggs, this Regan. He used to be a chap came. Well, he didn't come too often in the early stages from Brisbane. Oh.
Not Knowles?
No. I did business with him after one time when I went up there. I can't think of his name now. I don't think he was a German Jew. I can't think of his name.
Wouldn't be the Halpin family.
Oh, no. Although I knew them. I knew them. I knew them when they...
Well, you would recollect when Les Taylor first come here?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little of your associations with Les?
Well, I don't think I've ever sold him a stone. I don't know whether I used to buy it too dear or he didn't deal with non-religious people. I don't know which it was. But I never ever sold him a stone, as I know of. They were either too big or too small or the wrong bloody colour, so...
The price was always right.
Oh, yes, sure. Yeah.
Well, we mentioned Gregory Sherman, but I'm sure you had a lot of relationships with Greg.
Greg is one of the greatest judges, taught by his father too with experience. I think I read there on the back of something someone sent me, knowledge comes but wisdom lingers on, and that's the case with Greg Sherman. I'm hoping his boys follow in his footsteps, but I can't see the wisdom lingering. I might be wrong saying that, but that's as I see it. And Greg will tell you this himself. I took 2 stones there, we argued, and if you know his whole place of business in Martin Place, I walked into a little place and Sate was there, the cutting room, and then in his office. And we couldn't agree the price. I think it was 700 and he was on, I wanted 700, he was on 600. I said, no. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do with you. I'll toss you 650 or 700. I said, you can't lose, you got it your way. Up she went, and I made him. And I said, Greg, I'm only going to take the 650. Because I said, I'm showing you a profit. And I know I want you to show a good profit, because the next lot I might have bought them a bit dear. So it leaves a bit of latitude. He was only here, he said, I can remember putting my hand out and saying, you're the fairest bugger I've ever dealt with in my life. He said, I never forget that. And we used to, if I bought something a bit dear, Greg and I'd say, well, what's the price? I've got to get a profit. And we used to, and I thought that was great.
Always found him a very fair man.
More than fair in my book. Well, I hope, like he's had the knowledge, his experience. And I'm saying wisdom lingers on with him.
We then come down to Freddie Giles, into the more contemporary dealers. You remember when Fred first came here?
Yeah.
Maybe you can remember some little associations?
No.
I recollect Fred starting to buy here, and myself, I've set the date roughly at July 63.
I was at that time, I think I was just about on top, but I came from Hong Kong when I got the kick in the guts.
Do you want to tell us about that, or is it personal?
No, he was here, he used to come here mining. And I couldn't work it out, he came here with his mother then. And I was just leaving, and he said, look, I'm going back to Sawtell. Would you buy my puddler? I said, no, my goodness. Why do you come here? He said, oh, well, I have a job in Hong Kong. An electrical engineer, whatever you call it, I don't know, the freezing business, the boats and that. And he said, I think there's an opportunity there to open a shop. I said, do you get me open? He said, no. I said, well, Delbert, when you get back, I fell for the symbol and pay. Let me know. He said, well, there's my credentials, that's my bank. I belong to the Masonic Lodge, and fancy telling me, I wouldn't know whether that carries any credit across the bloody face of the earth or not. I fought for it all, and so he wrote back to me, and I sent him 780 quid's worth. Opal or money in 14 days. And I thought I was smart. I was sending it to Melbourne, and they were sending it across, no custom business. The cheque was back. I said, Billy, 1,500 quid's worth. The cheque was back. And he said, a fabulous market. The cheaper the stones, the more profit. So he said, send as much as you can. And I sent him 6,978 quid.
A lot of money those days.
Bloody oath. But I sent it through Melbourne. No customs. I had no redress. No money, no nothing. And that's all I ever got. And that's when I wanted it. If you can follow what I mean, it was every penny that I had to spare. I thought, this will be a beauty. So greed again catches up with you. I did the bloody lot and started from scratch again. No one knew. Only the bank.
Well, there was David Kaplan. Did you ever have any association with him?
Yes, David. David and I have been good friends, good mates. But I don't think I've ever sold David any opal. Because again, I think I might buy them too dear. As I tell you, the last time he was up, I think, I asked him not to treat me as a senile old man. I said, I still know a little bit about opal. But I said, let's have a bloody drink and we'll forget the opal.
Can you remember when he first come here buying?
Oh, Lord. He was after Giles. How many years, I couldn't tell you.
He was in 64.
I know he was after Giles.
After Giles, yes.
He was after
Of course,
Giles.
Arthur Blackwell come very late on the scene.
Yes, I think I bought the first lot of Arthur Blackwell's opal.
He come later to buy, I'm referring to.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, he worked with Bill Davis. Then, of course, there was, I'm talking later on, you're coming in, working up towards the 70s now. Well, then they came from Collarinabry, and I don't know, I still never have not met the chap named Lane. I wouldn't know him. But he came about 1970, didn't he?
He's there today, down at the Black Opal Motel.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, I've never ever met the man.
Yeah, there's a lot of people now who come in and go.
But he came around about 70. And there were 2 or 3 came at that time. They had to plunge, and then, of course, our Territory George, do not leave our Territory George out, because I think he's the mightiest battler that I have ever met.
Well, tell us about him from when you first met him.
Yeah? They all said he was just, that's how he is. Put him out in the Sahara Desert with 2 bob and he'll come back with 10,000, fair dinkum. But I can tell you, someone asked me, someone who he's doing big business for. And I said, yes, I can give him a reference, the greatest. They were doing business with him, and he wanted cash. So they arranged that they send the cheque to me, I bank it, and cash my cheque and pay him the 4,000. Good. Bank was only open 2 days a week, so I went in. I said, I want this cheque banked and my cheque cashed. And he said, okay. I said, oh, a few minutes. I'll go to the pub and have a drink. George had a broken leg at the time, lived around there near Johnston. We were staying there. So I went back to the bank. They gave me the bag. I never looked at the money. I got in the truck, drove round to where George was, and at the house there. Gave it to George. Never looked. I went back to the pub. And George sent the lady round. Wanted to see me urgently. I'm wondering what's wrong now. And he said, mate, there's 8,000 here instead of 4,000. They'd cashed both bloody checks. He said, had it been anyone else but you, he said, they may not have got it back. But he said, mate, he said, you'd have had to pay it. He said, there's your 4,000. Now, if that is not the greatest recommendation, and I told, and I'll tell you who I told him, that was the Canadian standing, and came up, and I said, well, that to me answers everything. But I've seen him battling in Sydney, and so as you know, he's their buyer in Queensland.
Very successful.
Yeah, yeah.
Very successful.
So that's Territory George, and I highly respect him. He's never go at anything. I don't think he'd ever starve.
Is there any other buyers in our contemporaries that we can think of?
Ah. Wait a minute now. See, I just flashed across my mind, Territory George, because I taught him a lesson. He borrowed money one time from the Jews, 10% per week, and he ended up here with a black satchel. So he in the passageway of the hotel, standing there, and he puts it down and goes into the lounge, and he's in the lounge. I don't know what's in it. At that time I knew he'd borrowed the money. So I grabbed it and I put it down the passageway in the bottle room, see, and he comes back out. And even with the beard, he changed colour. He said, "Me satchel." I said, "What satchel?" He said, "A black satchel." He said, "That's the money I borrowed from the Jews, 10% a week." I said, "Well, you want to be more bloody careful. I never saw it." Well, look, he changed colour. I said, "Now let this be a lesson to you. Never let it out of your hand." I said, "Brian Twenty could have grabbed that, a kid or anyone." That's how I knew. And all the bills he had, they were all in $5 bills to make him look a lot. Yeah, look, I've got to hand it to him. Yeah.
Oh my, oh my. Well, look, the most famous style character we haven't touched on yet, of course, now we've moved from the opal dealers, is to Freddie Bodell.
Oh, well, he was a shearer, and he mined here on and off from 1903. Yes. He tries to tell me he danced with my mother at a little place called Yeovil. That's between Wellington and Parks. He said, and your mother was 18. He should not dance with her. And by hell, I went back and Mum did remember. Yeah, she remembered the name.
You know where he came from?
He came from down around that area. Yeah, it's down there now around Yeovil, Cumnock. Only small areas they were in those days. That's I never delved in, you know, actually where he came from, but I presume that's where, because that's where my mother came from. And
Did he ever get any good stones in the period of time that you knew him?
not good stones, not nailable stones, no. No. And if he did, he wouldn't bloody tell you unless you bought it from him at a ridiculous price. Yeah. Well, I must. You're asking me to tell the truth, aren't you?
That's a fact, yes.
We used to argue. He's the only man that ever sacked me, and I was never on his payroll. If you remember down there on the flat over from his hut, I took the tractor down. He said, "We'll clean out this hole." I know there's hope there, and the stone's got on, okay. So I said, "Now look, I can't be down there, Fred. I'll go down at 7, but I want to be back home at about 9:30, because I've got to look after the laundry part of the trams." Okay. So we get the hole cleaned down to the drive. Took a bit out of the drive, and one morning, I don't know what happened, I never got down there till 9 o'clock. He's sitting dangling the legs over. He said, "You're bloody sacked. Now get your bloody gear and get off here." See, he was down. She was all cleaned out and ready to go. He only had to sit on the 4-gallon tin then and go through her. I said, "Well, you're the only man that's ever bloody sacked me, Fred, and I was never on the payroll." So he put his up, I got out, moved the tractor, and I think he sold the claim for 2,000 to that, it's a Chinaman down there. Chinaman.
Paddy O'Hara.
No.
Not Paddy O'Hara, I mean Paddy Jordan.
No. No, did he have a Chinese wife? No, he was half Chinese. And she was half Chinese. He sold him the claim.
Did he ever tell you anything about the history of the revolver claim?
Oh, yes, he did. But at the moment I couldn't recall that just offhand. I couldn't, really.
Did he tell you anything about the history of the Leany Tree?
Well, I worked there. He sent me there. Oh, we talked about the lineage. Oh, me too. Well, like old Fred, I had all those things on tape, you know. And once it goes on, I thought, well, that'll be forever and ever. And if I put something there, though, it's indelible. But I thought I had all that stuff. Same thing with old McCracken.
Old Doug.
Yes. Now, I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell you now what age he was. See, I had them all on tape, and so that was to me a future reference. It didn't matter. But I know old Fred told me about Lunatic Hill. I also thought they were mad, bloody lunatic up there, and they all rushed there.
That's when they struck it heavy up on top.
Yeah.
Turner's claim was up there.
Yes.
He had one day a week, or is it one day a fortnight, he religiously come to town, old Fred.
Oh, that was the latter part.
Yes, I mean in the last 20 years before he died.
Yes. And I'll say this, whether it was a compliment to me or not, but he would not be taken to hospital or see a doctor, even with his relations there, without they came up and got me. And to me, that was very lovely. And the day they took him up here, I still say he knew who it was. He was semi-conscious. And I held his hand and I said, mate, do you know who it is? And he squeezed my hand. He couldn't talk or anything. But that's the last I saw of him. All like his nieces and nephews have been up. And that.
He was a tall man?
Oh, yeah. Yes, he was a tall man. He was a tall man.
Could you describe his features?
Well, he was better looking than me, I'll put it that way. He'd been a very erect man in his day, had very good carriage. But his legs had gone. A pretty good shearer too. Bit rough.
He was somewhere in his 90s, was he not, when he passed away?
He was 91, coming 92. Yes. 91, 92, old Fred, but I've got drunk with him. But I think the funniest one, I like the humorous part about them, is that the night Ernie and Bill Waterman took him home to his hut. And they took bottles and got gloriously drunk. Bill found Ernie to Waterman's place, and Ernie came on home. How he got here, I don't know. But old Fred couldn't move. He was out, and he said, I went down to see if he was all right next day. And he said, well, all right, he said, but I woke up. He said, and the bloody sun's coming down on me. There'd been a bloody storm that night, and it lifted the whole bloody roof off, and they didn't know it was while Ernie and Waterman were there, mind, and they did not know it. And he said, there's the bloody sun coming down on me. You know how he used to laugh? Yeah, that's as true as I'm here. And I said, yes, what's that? He said, that's I'm crook. Go up and get me a drop of brandy. So I come up and got him the brandy. But he was great mates with, going back history, he was great mates with, I knew Mrs. Elsie, from Alice Springs.
Oh, yes, Hopkins.
Not Hopkins.
Wasn't Hopkins, wasn't they, from Alice Springs?
Elsie, what was Elsie's name? Debbie? She's a relation of Mum's. She married Hector. They mined out here, and they went over to Wimbledon exhibition. I've got the cutting out of the Herald.
Anyway, it'll come to you in a moment.
Yeah. Well, she was the Queen of Alice Springs. She had that necklace they wanted to buy for the Queen, and she wouldn't sell it. Old Fred knew her well. And I'm still looking for where she used to sweep all the blues weren't worth a spit when they were there, out there along that 9 mile fence. And she said she used to sweep it all down a hole there. We went out and looked, she couldn't find it. You know, things change. Do you know Fred and I went down to the 3 mile to find out where his camp was, used to be, and where I camped, and we bloody well got lost. Yes, that's true. And Fred said, this is where my camp was, between those 2 box trees. I said, Fred, it couldn't be. Because I said, there's a wash fair through the trees, and you never had your bloody hut and know where the wash was. No, I didn't either. So we got lost, fair dinkum. Never ever found it.
It's amazing how time changes things.
Well, it's all open cuts and houses that you never saw. But,
The man who invented the automatic tip, Eric Cattrall. Eric Cattrall, the hoppy leg chap, he invented the automatic hoist.
I thought it was Bo Davis.
Oh, no. Eric Cattrall built the first one, and...
Well, he had a different idea with that little tractor that used to go round and round the dump.
Yes. He built the first one, and Bo Davis and Alan Broome...
That's right.
They copied off it.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
And I don't think any one of them got the patented right.
No.
I think the chap at South Australia got the patent right, didn't he?
He could have, but I believe it's all over the world now.
I think he got it. He was smart enough. He was over here, and he slipped in. I think he patented it. I'm not sure.
Did you have any association with old Eric?
Oh, not a great deal. I thought he had guts. Mighty guts.
Being a cripple.
Being a cripple and what he did.
Being a cripple caused that hoist to be invented.
But he invented other things too, if you remember that from the dirt from the hole up to the elevator to the rumbler. His was the first rumbler.
Automatically loaded. I seen that. The
Yeah,
rumbler was
yeah,
automatically
so did
loaded.
Yeah,
Drove with his Ferguson tractor.
that's right. Oh, I saw it too. It was down just from, down the...
On the El Dorado.
Yeah, well, near the gully there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
He was mighty and he had guts, and I did not have much to do with him.
he eventually went to train in greyhound dogs.
Oh, well, he trained them down there. He used to train them off the tractor. Yes. Yes, but I never ever backed one of them. He won a lot of races too. I don't know what became of the old chap. But I always looked on him as having guts.
He died in his camp.
No.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Okay, well, we come on to Bobby Bishop.
The hardest man to talk to. I never got with much success with him, but I think you might have been. But I could never get... I got him in the finish, but you know, only just bits and pieces. At that time, when I was trying to get him, they were all scared at the bloody taxation. Now, what can taxation do? They did have a go here once, but what can they do?
Well, they haven't been able to do anything in the past.
No. And well, I'm sure they won't be able to do much in the future, because the way the rating is going here, there'll be no one bloody well living here.
Do you remember Russian George?
Yes, lived up there on top of the hill where...
on the 3 Mile?
Yes, on top of the hill where Piles. Oh, Piles lived there. He got a lot of open piles, and he had a brush fence around it. And then that Russian went there.
Well, Russian George said to me once, he made the claim that he actually invented the triplex, but it was stolen from him. I won't go into that now, but it was quite interesting.
The triplex? I think he is wrong. The first one that I know to have made the triplex that was stolen was Joe Belenky, is it?
Joe Belinka?
Belinka.
Yeah, no, this...
Now, I'll tell you why, when he said it was stolen. A little German cove here. He drove me 2 or 3 times to parks. And he used to mine up there at Cattrall's. And he pinched some opal. I didn't know it. But he brought this triplex to me. And I bought it. And I just put it in the showcase. Joe was down here and looked. Oh, he said, where'd you get that? I said, I bought it from that young German Charlie. He said, that is the first triplex that I made. And he said, these were stolen from me. And I said, oh, God damn, I'm not to know that. Here. Take the bloody thing. I think I only give him about, I might have given $20, $30, something like that. He said, no, I won't take it. He said, no, it's German Charlie. I said, yeah, he's mining up there in Kendall. He said, that's all I want to know. So, man, they really did him over. They didn't go to police or anything else. They really did him over, if you remember. I think they broke both his arms, and oh man, they did him over. So then he came back. He said, how much do you get for the triplex? I said, well, it doesn't matter what I gave it, it's yours. He said, no, I'm going to reimburse you. We got square. He paid me for what I paid for the stone, and he got it back there. That's all I know about a triplex.
Yeah, very good.
I didn't know Russian code.
Well, about 5 years before that, 4 to 5 years before that, I was talking to Russ and George, and I didn't understand what a triplex was, but he was telling me about it. He said he had invented a triplex going back years before that. Now, I better be careful what I say at this stage, but a certain jeweller in Sydney, he said, stole the idea from him. So that's immaterial anyway.
Yeah, that's immaterial. I'm talking of the first one that I know was stolen here.
Yes. Russian George himself, did you have any association with him, buy any opal from him, or...?
We've had 2 or 3 deals, not much dealing, no.
Yeah.
He always had some new idea to sell me, and I'm not interested in new ideas. I get plenty of stupid ideas myself.
Yeah. What about Paddy Jordan?
Oh, old Paddy. There were 2 Paddies.
The old tin miner I'm referring to?
Yes, there were 2 Paddies. It was Paddy Jordan, and I'm the one that brought him here. I picked him up on the road between Cadamble and Walden with a black dog and brought him here. Yeah, that's Paddy. And then the other old Paddy was from the Boer War business. He used to be useful at the pub afterwards, and they worked together. Yeah.
Did you ever buy any Paddy Jordan's?
Yes, I did.
I see some beautiful opal he got from the Shallow 4 Mile.
They were camped up there, over from where, along that, going up to Bald Hill, before you went over through Dawson's Fence.
On Pumpkin Flat there?
Yes. There were the 2 old Paddies there, and they had, I think, was 3 beautiful stones. I heard, and up I go, and they're drinking plonk. Yep, out of the pannikin. I said, you got some opal? Yeah. He said, have a plonk. I said, no, I don't drink plonk. I don't drink plonk. But they'd down this and rush out the door and be sick and come back and have another go at her. They said, until you have a drink of the plonk, you don't see the bloody opal. I said, well, I knew, I'd heard how good they were. So temptation got the better of me. I had a go at her. Oh, God. I had a go at her, so they showed me the opal. I bought the opal. I said, now you forced me to have a drink before you did business. Now I've done business, and I'm putting your boat in the car, in the ute, and we're going down to the pub, and we're going to really get on the plonk. So I drove him down to the pub. I know who got on the plonk. I got on it with him. Oh, that bloody black stuff it was, whatever you call it, I don't know. Oh, Lord. I know someone brought me home, and I had a bed out there. That's as far as they got me. I don't think I moved for 3 days. Oh, God, straight ice. Well, I want to make a profit out of this bloody opal to make up for my ill health. Oh, it was beautiful stones. I don't know where they got it from. They were kept over there.
Yes, I've seen some of the opal that they got from the Shallow 4 Mile, from the Shallow Ballars. Absolutely superb.
This should have been, I think this could have been Malar opal, I don't know. It was beautiful opal. It was really beautiful opal. At that particular stage, I was not conversant to be able to say of what field it actually was from.
Well, what about Mick the Ratter? Mick the Trig?
Mick the Trig. We will say this, he tried, didn't he? We all have good points and we all have bad points.
But he was a part of Lightning Reach history.
He's part of the history. And I suppose that wouldn't be any different, but if you're desperate for a feed for your family, I think you'll do anything, won't you? So we have to look for the good points too. You think?
Let's
These
have
are
the good
funny.
points because they were comical.
Well, I used to have the Muscovy ducks. This is just on a side. They used to fly down the government tanks, see. They were getting lower and lower, the numbers. And he had that little kid, see, came here with his mother. She used to come and help with the laundry. And he used to yabber away to me. Oh, he said, I said, what did that potato last? Oh, he said, duck, beautiful duck. So I see Mike down in the bloody pub, and I said, how did the Muscovy go? I said, you'll be getting them. I said, you must be sick of them now. He said, how do you know? I said, well, I happen to know. I said, and I'll tell you which one I found out. The last one they got, and Mick just beat that Lenz to it. Lenz rushed home with the bloody gun, and Mick beat him to it. See? So it all came out then.
So Peter Lenz lost out.
Yes. Yes, Peter.
He was a good worker, Mick the Ratter.
He could work. He could work, and I'll tell you what his carrier is. He tells me I branded him for life. I don't know, some argument there, and he could fight and all the rest of it. He was a bit full. I might have been a bit full, and out the back of the hotel, and he reckons I hit him. I don't remember. And he fell arse over right onto a glass bottle there, and he's got 8 stitches in his bum, and he said, you branded me for life. I've never ever seen them, but so he tells me.
Oh, boy. Well, you knew Johnny the Hornet quite well.
Yes, Johnny the Hornet, that's the first one I more or less associated with. When I'd buy anything in the rough, when I first came here, he used to cut it. But I found out that he could make a few mistakes, so I kind of changed round a bit. But Johnny, Jackie, he worked. God bless him.
He was known for chasing around on his push bike to the shallow workings.
That's right, and I still have his push bike.
Well, that's interesting.
And I'm going to do, I promised him the other day I'd do it up. The one with the little low wheel in front and the basket.
Yeah.
I'm going to do her up and ride her myself.
Well, let us know when you do that, and we'll put the video camera on you. That'll be historic.
I did it once.
Did you?
And that Bobby Allen and Molyneux come up here, and they met me at the pub, and I said, I'm only going to pump the tyres up. We pumped the tyres up, I'm full. And so I out in the front, I said, I'll ride her down to the pub. So good. They head me out this way. Give me a push. They said, right, see you at the pub, and away I go. I get down here a bit, and I said, that bastard sister, I'm in the wrong direction. So I got off, and I got round, and I turned around, and I got going again back down to the pub, and I rode it just before the police station. That's I finished in the gutter there. But I still got the bike.
Is there any other characteristics about Johnny that you'd like to mention? Jackie the Hornet?
Well, he was a connoisseur of wine, and someone played a very dirty trick on him. He used to get it in Demijohn, but someone was smart enough to order a big barrel and set it up here, and it stood there. He wouldn't have it in Woods. It was at Woods, and we don't know to this day who the smart Alec was. That's not smart in my book, because they were going to sue him and all the rest of it. So they took it back in and put it on the train and sent it back to Leighton.
And there's another Johnny. I don't know if you had much association with him. Johnny the Snake Catcher.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? He's a character.
He's still a character too, although he's quieting down. He's quieting down.
Yeah. I can recollect him opal cutting up on the Nobby.
Yes, with Betty.
With Betty, yeah.
Yes, I saw him the other day and he tells me he's finished, he can't. Well, again, grog would put it down, but when he used to get drunk, his only trouble was that he'd sing or drive you mad talking.
Did you ever buy any opal off him?
Yes, yes, I bought and sold, not so much he, Betty. I've dealt with Betty. Not so much the snake catcher.
Harold, do you know how he got the name the Snake Catcher? I've never been able to track that down.
Well, I think it's on account of his colour. And I think he got in the DTs once and was seeing bloody snakes and everything, and he caught some. That's as far as I know. He reckoned he caught them. I couldn't tell you whether he did or not.